You're listening to the Law of Attraction Radio Network.
In this multidimensional world, much of which is invisible to the eye, a group of non-physical entities have come here to expand our knowledge of how the universe works. These non-physical teachers are called Joshua, and they convey their teaching through Gary Temple Bodley. Each week, Gary, with a selection of law of attraction experts, open up a roundtable of thought-provoking discussions surrounding the teachings of Joshua. Joshua's intention is to bring clarity to the listeners through the ever-expanding law of attraction by looking at reality from a new perspective. Welcome to the teachings of Joshua Roundtable.
Hello, everyone. This is episode 30 of the Teachings of Joshua Roundtable. I'm your host, Gary Temple Bodley. Today is May 7th, 2016. This is the Manifestation Event episode. Do you know what a manifestation event is? It's a point of expansion. Manifestation events are happening when you feel emotion. When you feel positive emotion, you are having a manifestation event which causes expansion and reinforces beneficial beliefs. When you feel negative emotion, you are having a manifestation event designed to alert you to a limiting belief based in fear. In each case, you expand as a result. The way you deal with manifestation events determines how your vibration changes and what comes into your reality as a result. If you want to get good at manifesting the things you want and creating a wonderful life experience, you need to understand how manifestation events work. Our question this week comes from Kyla. She had a manifestation event, and we'll see how she handled it and what Joshua had to say about it. On the roundtable today, we have Michael Kutzen. Hi, Michael.
Hey, Gary.
Kimberly Summit. Hi, Kimmy.
Good morning.
And Steve Finizza is back from his trip in Italy. Buongiorno, Steve.
Ciao.
No, you should have said ciao Bella.
Ciao, Bella.
Joe Bella.
Janine is still in South Africa having a great time and should be back with us next week. What does ciao, Bella mean, by the way?
Hello, beautiful.
Okay, so you're saying I'm beautiful?
You're always beautiful.
That's why I didn't say it. So prior to, this is the manifestation event is the one thing that has come up that's I haven't heard anywhere else. This is completely new. It's one of the, it was obviously written about in the first book back in 2013. And Joshua talks about it all the time. And it's a great way of looking at how your emotions, why they come up, what's happening when you're having an emotion, how your guidance system is working, and what is the result of it. And so when you think of a manifestation event, it's a moment in time where you feel emotion. Could be positive emotion or negative emotion. If it's positive emotion, it's alerting you to a beneficial belief. If it's negative emotion, it's alerting you to a limiting belief that's based in fear. So when you feel positive emotion, for instance, you're witnessing the birth of a child, or your child comes home with a great report card or whatever, and you feel good about it, it is letting you know that this belief that you have is beneficial and it's perfectly aligned with who you really are and what you really want. Conversely, when you feel negative emotion, something happens, you get into an argument, or you feel bad in some way, you feel anger or any kind of negative emotion, it's alerting you to the fact that you have a limiting belief, and that belief is based in an irrational fear, and you're looking at this whole situation from a perspective that is disempowering rather than empowering. So you need to, in these cases, either analyze your fear or your belief and reduce the intensity of that by finding evidence that it's false, or just change the perspective and try and find a perspective that you can see it differently. And as soon as you find one that feels better or you feel relief, you found one that's now more aligned with what you want. What do you guys think of that?
Joshua 101.
That's basic Joshua right there.
Basic Joshua. Absolutely.
Now,
it's sometimes, and it's not so easy to learn how to do initially, but it certainly helps you live your life once you get it down. Although you never get it down perfectly.
It's it's helpful, obviously, and right, it's not easy, but once you get practice at it, it gets easier. Just the fact that you are supposed to understand that when you have negative emotion, that you're not supposed to just, suffer through it. You're not supposed to dwell on it. You're not supposed to leave it lingering. You're supposed to resolve it. That's the whole point. And as you resolve it and get back to feeling good, you're back on track to going where you want to go. We always grew up thinking, okay, it's life. Sometimes you feel good. Sometimes you feel bad. Nothing you can do about it. Well, that's not true. It's very important to be able to expand in joy. First thing that Abraham says is that the reason we come here is to expand joyously through contrast. Okay? So obviously we can expand joyously through, fun things and empowering manifestation events, but it's the expand joyously through contrast. So a contrast is a manifestation event that's, that you feel negative emotion.
I think that was missing from Abraham's message, because I had been listening to Abraham for 10 years before I found Joshua, and I felt like my growth, I guess, through Abraham is I'm waiting for, expand joyously. Maybe I wasn't joyous enough, but I didn't feel like I was progressing near the speed. Once I started with Joshua, and instantly he says, okay, it's all about manifestation events. It's manifestation. Analyze it. And then I felt like, shoot, I was like going at light speed, and you're actually get to the point where you look forward to that next manifestation event because you're going to come out on the other side happier, lighter.
Right. Although I don't think it's necessarily missing from Abraham, I think it's not quite as emphasized. I think it's just a question of emphasis, because Abraham does teach about the whole idea of going downstream and not letting things, if something is going wrong or something is not enjoyable to you, to just kind of ride it out and say, look, steer right into it and let it go and focus and be happy no matter what. That message is there. What I think Joshua adds to it is an emphasis, a nuance to it, so that we focus on it more, and I think it makes the message more complete.
Well, Joshua's teachings are more specific, which really means that the teachings are for a more limited leading edge of a leading edge. So if you look at Abraham, this is leading edge information that is still very general. So it's still very inviting to people who are new. And it's also, if you look at the secret was super general and super inviting. People could get on board with that. And then they go from the secret to more specific, which is Abraham, and not everyone can go there because it's a much higher vibration. And then they go to Joshua or whoever else, which is even more specific, which is the sort of thing that I like about it, is that there's stuff here that people might disagree with, but the information is super specific. And in the case of manifestation events, this whole time, I can go to a funeral now and look at that from the perspective that the person is just going back to non-physical, that they had the experience that they wanted to have here, no matter how short or long it was, and that it's a joyful occasion, and I can feel good in it, where everyone else is crying about it. And so in that manifestation event, when someone dies, it's very easy for me. However, when it's an issue that's close to me, like I had a big one last Sunday, I still get caught up in it. And it's super hard not to just react negatively. I did a lot better than I would have done, for sure. Lily was really surprised how well I handled it. But it was, it felt so bad, and it stuck with me for 2 days. But it was a big one because it was close to me.
And Gary, if I can add to that, just because of reading the Joshua book that I've been reading, I keep forgetting the title of it, Manifesting. I think it's the Manifesting book.
It's called, you're reading A Radical Change?
Yes.
In your approach to life.
That's it. I always forget the title of that book. Anyway, but I think even with the passing, like I've been reading the book, I think I'm on page like 100 and I think I'm maybe close to page 200 now.
Uh-huh.
But even with Kahlua passing, like, yes, I was very
Louis,
sad.
your dog.
Kahlua is my dog, my female chocolate lab. And I was very sad when she passed away. And one of my friends said, "Oh, when you go and pick up her ashes, you're going to be a wreck." And I was like, "Well, I don't think so," because I finally realized that, like, she just changed stages. Like, she's actually still here, and
Right.
she's actually she's the reason why I just got my little Mini Cooper, because she was like, "Mom, you need to go and have fun." So I'm like, okay. So I mean, she's the one that guided me to the car for real. I said that to the lady at the vet yesterday. She probably thought I was nuts, but I don't really care. And but I really wasn't sad. Like, I picked up her ashes, and I was just happy to have them. And then, I brought her home, and I wasn't like a mess, like one of my girlfriends said I would be, and I really wasn't. Like, I realized, what that was, and how it's not like I don't want to create sadness for the future for my other dogs or for my other animals.
Or for
It's
yourself.
just that, or for myself, they're just changing stages. So
Right.
even in that instance, maybe the first day that it all happened and she passed away and it was so sudden and it was a shock, there were a lot of things going on. But as time, went along, I really changed my perspective on it. And it really even helped me going to pick up, like, I was excited to go pick up her ashes.
Yeah. Well, this is a good time to read the quote. Do you have the quote there, anyone?
I do.
Okay, so read that quote.
Be aware that all of this is happening for you and not to you.
So, so if you can just take that perspective, that no matter what is happening for you.
Right.
Just everything is happening for you. It's interesting in that each of us has our lives. We're interacting now, but all of you are here for me, and all of us are here for you, all at the same time. And everything that happens is always for you, not to you. You are expanding as a result of whatever is happening, and how you choose to handle that just really is a matter of, is the ride going to be bumpy or smooth? And that's really all it is.
I just can't let this quote go without a comment about the amazing picture that Deborah Joe took here.
Yeah, she didn't take
or
it.
Or not take it,
yeah.
took it, but obtained it and
Right.
and set up the picture.
Yeah.
It is just amazing. If you can't see it or you haven't, you should go to the Teachings of Joshua website and look at this if you're not already getting the question of the week.
Right.
But it's got this person is in, it looks like some sort of an enclosed natural setting, and light is shining through on this person. It is just remarkable.
Yeah. There's like a lake there or a pond there, and lights coming down.
The problem with all these pictures or all of these images that Deborah Joe is doing is that she's setting the bar higher and higher for herself.
I know it. They're getting better and better.
You
look at the ones
hard
from,
to
like,
believe that
2 years
that
ago.
she's getting
Yeah.
so good at and they're all amazing.
I try to do some too, and I can't. They just do not compare at all. It's amazing.
Maybe it's not your forte,
Well, it's definitely her forte. She's super creative.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, so a manifestation event, no matter what it is, it's always happening for you. So I had one this weekend. Lily's mother passed away 3 months ago, and on Saturday we took her ashes on the boat, and they're in this vessel made of sand, and we had a really nice little ceremony and threw roses in the water, and then we went 3 miles offshore and dropped the container in the ocean. And it was such a clear, beautiful day that you could see this thing as it sank to the bottom. We were 100, 200 feet deep. And as it was going under the water, it just lit up. The sun hit it, and it just shined. It was really incredible.
Wow.
So we're all
Very
looking
cool.
over the side. And then as we just happened to be faced perfectly towards the tallest condo in Singer Island, called the Tierra, which is where she used to live and where we all remember her from. So it was really a neat moment. So then the next day was Lily's sister's birthday, and we have her boyfriend Thomas, and 2 of her kids who are in their 20s over, and make steaks and have a great dinner outside. And then Lily brings up the fact that we need to sell the condo. And
Uh-oh,
And
here we go.
Here we go again.
And Marisa won't deal with it. It's been 3 months, and the stuff is, she's been cleaning it out little by little, and she's holding the checkbook, and she's a signer on the account because she was helping Lily's mom as she was going through her last days, and she refuses to do anything. And it was funny too because during the dropping of the ashes ceremony, Lily and I were like happy and having a good time, and thought about how fun it was that all 3 of the kids were there, and we're all there together, and all this is happening. It was working out perfectly, and the day was gorgeous, and they're all bawling their eyes out. Now, Lily's mom was, late 80s. She had a fantastic life, and she went relatively quickly. There was not a lot of pain or anything, but they're just crying like it was, a tragedy, like she, got hit by a car or something. And so we're feeling a little bit, joyous, and they're feeling totally upset, but it got better, and we went and hung out for a little while. And the next night, Lily brings this up, and Marisa just lost it. And what she said was some things that were attacking the very core of who I am, which was she didn't want me to list the property because she says, we can't trust you. And I think that I'm one of the most trustworthy people in the world, that it doesn't have anything to do with me anyway, right? They're, I put it on the market, get a contract, and they decide what they want to do with it. I have no.
Well, on top of everything else, you kind of have incentive to get the highest possible price.
Plus, I'm not charging for it, right? Obviously, I'm doing that side for free, which will save them $10,000.
Plus, it's what you know.
Right.
You're the expert in that.
Well, that, yeah. Plus, I'm the expert in it. I've owned a condo in that same development. I know the condo board. I know every unit inside and out. I'm very familiar with it, and that sort of thing. But anyway, that had nothing to do with it. She was just trying to say something, which was she couldn't trust me. I don't know what that is.
So there's no history there?
Not that I know of. I don't know why she can't trust me.
Oh.
So anyway, so I felt the negative emotion, realized this is a manifestation event, and didn't say anything. Just was, okay, whatever, fine, we'll do it, whatever you want to do. And basically they laughed, and I was like shooken up by it. And then I had to sit down and realize, okay, what's the underlying fear? And the fear is that I'm not good enough in real estate, even for my family to understand that. Or, and even though, there's so much evidence against it, it's still coming up, which is, I've been doing it for 30 years right in this one town. So that sounds ridiculous. And, just a lot of other fears that came up, and I had to just really sit down and resolve it, and it took a couple days to do it, even me doing it, so I can see how it happens to everyone else as well. It's not an easy thing to get through. Yeah, but it takes a lot of practice.
No, objectively, it's a very hurtful statement that she made.
Well, it's only hurtful if you believe there's some truth to it. Okay, so I have some limiting belief about myself that I attracted that comment somehow. It didn't come out of the blue. Something happened to attract it, right? Sure. It happened for me to get over this insecurity that I have about whatever it is. And, and so it's not her that did anything. I don't want her to be any different than she was being. Although, of course, that's my first reaction, is how can she say this? How dare you? I made you this wonderful dinner for your birthday, and here you are attacking me. Right? That's the first instinct, is to try and change the conditions or change the people so that they behave in a way that makes you feel good. But if they just did that all the time, these issues would never be brought to the surface that you could resolve. So this manifestation event is a gift. And if you can see it as a gift, when they happen, you can move through it joyfully. And when I say joy, it's not like with giddy laughter. It's like the same way you enjoy reading an article, right? That's, if you didn't enjoy it, you wouldn't read it. You're not giddy with excitement, but you enjoy what you're doing, and that is joy. And so if you're enjoying the process of figuring these things out, you're expanding in joy. And it's just a different perspective, and it makes it a whole lot easier too when it happens.
And you don't know necessarily, like, let's say this goes a little bit farther and they hire a real estate agent, another real estate agent to sell the place. This could be somebody that you meet and connect with, and he has something for you down the road that you have no idea right now what it is.
Exactly. Right. There's a whole different perspective.
Millions of things that could come up.
And if I was concerned about the money, that would have been a fear there. But my fear was the fact that people who are in my life, who are close to me, don't trust me. So.
Yeah, you should flesh that
That's
out.
the thing. Yeah. That's it. I know there's definitely something big in that. And I think that once I release that.
Well, you know what? And she may have also saved you a real headache with this apartment anyway.
Oh, we're going to still list it. She agreed to list it and all that stuff. And
right, but there could be issues that arise that eventually the broker is going to have to deal with. I'm sorry?
I'm the broker. I'm the real estate broker.
No, I understand that, but I thought they said that they don't want you as the broker.
No, she said that she didn't want me. And when said, this is ridiculous. You're going to spend extra,
Oh, okay, so she decided to bring you back on board.
Get someone else. Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. What the thing was is she said that she said, we can't. She said, we can't trust you. That's
right.
what she said.
Right.
Yeah. And I think what they're what she's thinking, is that I'm blowing money playing poker. She thinks that no matter what the evidence is, and how much, money I make from poker, she still thinks it's gambling, and she thinks that all gamblers are untrustworthy.
So that's her own limiting beliefs.
Well, it has to be in mine too. I have to be.
Okay.
I have to also agree with her. She can't say it unless I agree with her. It would never come up. Right.
But then, Gary, isn't there something on her end of things about how?
If she feels it.
But she was also holding on to the condo, like she wouldn't let it go.
I can only change me. She can have her own manifestation event, and that's often what happens is when you get into a situation with somebody, they're having a manifestation event at the same time, but theirs could be something completely different.
Right. Well,
and hers might be, and it's good to see her perspective, and hers might be that why are they rushing? They're just trying to get rid of everything. I mean, there's a piano, an old piano that she thinks is worth $14,000, and I've done research on eBay and Craigslist and found that this model of it, while it's still old, isn't worth anything. And to move it costs more than what it's worth.
So just give it away.
Well, she won't give it away, and she wants to sell it for $15,000. No one's going to buy it. She hasn't even made one attempt to do it. So she's got all this going on, too. She's just holding on to her mother, I guess. And
in my profession, that happens quite often.
Yeah.
Where people won't move forward, for whatever emotional reasons, everything from sentimental issues with family, with possessions, to issues about not wanting to wrap up an estate because somehow they're holding on to it, to somehow controlling other family members through holding on to an estate. A lot of issues arise in estate administration.
I'm sure.
If I could, if I would have taken her perspective quicker, it would have made me feel better too. But the nice thing about this, even though I felt bad about how poorly I handled it emotionally, I didn't react. I didn't take any action to fight back. I didn't resist it. I allowed it to happen, and didn't make her wrong for saying it. Even now, when it sounds like I'm making her wrong, I'm not really. I'm taking responsibility for what happened on my side, and it's hard not to make the other person wrong. I've got a friend who had a manifestation this week as well, and my friend Rob is completely naturally aligned with the universal forces. Everything he does, his life is just magical. Everything works for him. He just skates through life, winning everything he does. If you remember, he's the one that bought this house on top of the mountain in North Carolina that no one had even known about, and he came in at the right time and got it at the right price, and it was something just perfect, and now it's this incredible thing. And he lives on the water here in Palm Beach County. So he has a neighbor, and he has been living in this house for 20 years. And the neighbor, they're on the water, and when Rob looks out the back, he sees it's a wider waterway there one of the bigger ones, and the boats go by. It's really nice. And if he looks to the left of the house, he can see all the way down the water. And the neighbor's positioned so that the house doesn't block the view at all. So it's a beautiful view to the north. So one day the neighbor decides to put ficus trees in, and it completely blocks that view. And it blocks their view down the water too, so it didn't really make a lot of sense. But it was sort of a weird thing. So anyway, they have this ficus head down, and then the neighbor goes in foreclosure, and during this time that no one's living in the house, Rob takes out the bushes. So he has his view back. New person comes over and says, the manager of the person who now owns the house says, the owner is upset that you took out his plants. Okay, so what's the first response you would have, right, to this? You would say things like, well, it blocks my view. It's never been there before. It doesn't do anything to your property. It blocks your property's view down south, all these things. Instead, he said, I'm sorry. Let me know how much it is to replace it, and I'll write you a check. No resistance at all. He just completely went with the flow of it. Didn't get upset. No big deal. And so we came up with a new slogan is, what's your number? So if anyone does anything bad to you, you say, okay, what's your number? I'll write you a check.
Boy, I wish I knew that when I was a bachelor.
Yeah. And this goes to another idea that Joshua's had. And then I think it's going to be a book one day, but the title of this book would be, You're Right, I Apologize. And if you can use those 4 words, you can dissipate any conflict with anybody.
True.
So
because everybody just wants to be understood, right? So as soon as someone is understood,
saying anything else builds, embeds conflict, right? And all conflict is resistance, and all resistance leads to, a momentum that's created that leads to more resistance.
And you're doing it. You're doing it for yourself, so that you feel better, not for the other person.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
But the poor guy lost his view.
He lost his view. Yeah. He was like, what would you say? Okay, so here's me knowing this stuff. And what I would say was, listen, I've lived here 20 years. This hedge restricts my view. You're going to rent this property out. I'm going to make sure that you will never rent it to a tenant for more than 1 year. They'll hate living here so badly. This is me saying this. And he goes, well, you know what I did? I said, I'm sorry. What's your number? So interesting. I was listening. I'm wondering, can people really change that much? We've gone 50 years. I've gone 50 years being a certain way, and even knowing what I know, can I change enough? And certainly I have changed. I mean, I'm not fighting back as much, and I don't get too upset at funerals anymore. What do you think, Steve?
I would say that my Italy trip was a good example of how I've changed, because it was the smoothest. Everything played out perfectly, and my daughter was with me, so I could see a slightly different perspective, because, like, let's say it was raining or supposed to rain the next day or something, and she would go, oh, it's going to rain, and I would just say, it's going to work out. Everything's just going to work out, and everything worked out, right?
Yeah.
And I, sure. When you have these big long trips, and you have rail connections and flight connections and hotel reservations, usually something goes awry, right? Yeah. And I was actually open to this. I was open to anything going awry, because I knew that it would be an adventure, right? But nothing did. Everything played out perfectly. The chance food places you'd stop at. Well, I don't know if maybe Italy, there's a good chance you're going to have a good place. But, almost every place we had fantastic food. And, it's a couple of times I had to pinch myself. It was like, dang, just the way serendipity flowed. And I've had a lot of trips. And I've always been, I call it old Steve. Old Steve reacted when things didn't necessarily go his way. And then at that point, you're pre-planning, right? So the next part of your trip doesn't go very well because you were in a bad mood, and
right.
So you have these trips where, well, half of it was good, half of it not so good, but this was like all good. So I was just in a appreciative mood.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a clear sign that I have changed through this interaction.
Yeah.
Well, and
that's
Steve,
true.
what's amazing is I kind of felt like that in your pictures on Facebook. I was like, God, he's having such a great time. It looks like everything is like falling into place. Like I really felt like that even looking at your pictures. It's funny that you're saying that because like you had all these amazing pictures. There was a video of you guys on like, they're probably not called Vespas, but
They
that's
are.
what we call them
That
in
was
Santa
a
Barbara.
that was a Vespa.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's what they call them in Santa Barbara. And, and it just seemed like, yeah, the food, the menu just looked amazing. Oh my God. Like, yeah, it's just the food. It's crazy on that one menu. I'm like, what? I'm like, don't let me see that.
I like when the menu had mozzarella and cheese.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or cheese.
Or cheese.
Yeah.
Mozzarella is not considered cheese, I guess.
Yeah.
Mozzarella, yeah, it's like a staple.
Amazing. So, yeah, it's funny that you say that because that was kind of obvious in the pictures on Facebook. So,
Well, I'm glad it came across. 'Cause
All
it
right,
was
should we
definitely
get
there.
on to the question of the week?
I think we should.
sure.
So this is a good one because Kyla, it's from Kyla. Kyla's in the one-on-one program. She's on question maybe 25 or 26 right now. So not that many questions. And she's going through a divorce. And she's making such amazing progress. It's unbelievable to watch.
It's
It's
awesome.
incredible. And so this letter came as a result of her being able to handle a manifestation event. So let's see. Michael, you want to read for Kyla, and then Steve can read for Joshua?
I'd be happy to be Kyla.
Kyla has a deep voice.
I'd be happy to be Kyla.
She does not have a deep
I
voice.
don't know. I've never talked. I've just gotten on email. I have no idea. You've talked to her. That happened.
I've talked to her a couple times.
Yeah.
She's
That's funny.
Very nice person.
In any event, she wrote an amazing letter. Let me read it. Joshua, another progress report. Tonight, I faced a manifestation event and I rocked it. A few minutes before my scheduled chat with my ex, my mom asked me if I had time to sit down and talk with her and my dad because they wanted to discuss the agreement I'm in the process of making with my ex. It was made clear they have some, in quotes, serious concerns and wanted to make sure I was aware of their fears. I immediately noticed I was feeling negative emotions, namely annoyance, and at the root of that annoyance was fear, as always. I calmly told her that another night would be better to talk, that I love and respect her and my dad, and that I was willing to listen to their advice. But I also made it clear that my decision is made after having considered all the angles, and that I'm not interested in listening to all the ways this situation could go wrong. Then I went outside and took a few minutes to myself before beginning the dialogue with my ex. In that time, I was able to analyze my negative emotions and realize that my parents are coming from a place of love and concern for my well-being. The limiting beliefs I identified were, I am wrong, other people know better than me, other people can control me, and this shit could totally hit the fan if my ex doesn't hold up his end of the bargain. I was able to rest in the knowing that all is well, that I am provided for by Source, that I am the creator of my reality, and that any decision I make is right. As I headed back in, I even felt a bit excited about the chat with my ex, eager to see how it unfolded, and confident that I could remain neutral. And I did! For the most part, at least. In the moments where fear popped up, I took a step back and thought through my responses and made sure that I was back in alignment before answering. I'm thrilled to say that we have officially reached an agreement for all of the parenting and financial issues, so I could be happily divorced by the end of this month. This could have been a much rockier road had I not been participating in these conversations with you. The best part is that I'm aware that the road ahead could still be rocky and things could go wrong, but that's only possible if I choose to view them as such. I am slowly but surely getting to a place where I am choosing to view manifestation events and the pain that sometimes goes along with them as adventures to be anticipated rather than avoided. I can feel the expansion from earlier this evening to now, and I relish the thought of a lifetime full of similar experiences. So thank you, Joshua, Words cannot express how much I appreciate our interactions. With all the love in this world and the others, Kyla.
Wow.
You did a great job reading that, Michael. When we do the book Conversations with Kyla, I'll have you do the audio version so you can read Kyla.
I'm flattered, I think.
So there you go.
Yeah, and I'm
That's
kind
the way
of
to
like,
look.
what?
That's the way to look at manifestation events. You know, you're here on a never-ending process of expansion, and this is how you expand. And to dodge this, because you don't want to feel bad, just reduces your opportunity to expand. It doesn't do anything. You're still going to come up against it, and trying to avoid it is not going to be satisfying at all.
I've got to tell you, her way of dealing with an ex was masterful.
Oh my God, yeah.
I have two situations where I represent ex-spouses who are engaged in war, basically continuations of their divorce. It's warfare over their adult autistic children.
Mm-hmm.
And they use these as opportunities to continue the fight. And any little thing sets off either side, both sides.
Right.
And it's crazy the way they react.
It'd be interesting if before you took on a client, you made them read a perception of reality.
Well, you see, the problem with that is then I'd have no clients.
Then everything would go smoothly. You'd have like half your billable hours.
As one of my colleagues said, our law firm thrives on family dysfunction.
You can egg it on every now and then. Can you believe what he said?
Really?
Really? Okay. Steve, why don't you read for Joshua?
Sure thing. Dear Kyla, words cannot express how excited we are for you. This is a true expansion, and to witness your acknowledgement of it is exceptionally exhilarating. We are filled with joy. You have expanded from the person you were when we first began these discussions, and you are now consciously creating your life. Doesn't it feel wonderful to be moving in the direction of what is wanted? Doesn't it feel exciting to grab hold of the steering wheel of your life? Imagine how a prior version of you would have handled the manifestation event. It might have gone very differently.
So here Joshua is saying that by properly handling a manifestation event, taking the steering wheel, and you are consciously creating what you want rather than being resistant and creating what you do not want. Okay, so it's a huge point right in that paragraph there.
And I just think this made such an impact. I mean, this is such a big thing going on in her life. And to smooth that out, I think that's amazing.
Yeah.
It is amazing.
You are moving through the fear of negative emotion and are beginning to see the gift that is embedded in each emotion. This is a radically new approach to life. It is one that utilizes the forces of the universe. You are moving with the flow of life. While there remains some limiting beliefs and some attachment to the old approach, your progress is remarkable. You want certain things to come into your life, and as you do, you must make certain alterations to your vibration. By consciously becoming aware of how your limiting beliefs are limiting your reality, you can choose to disrupt those beliefs on your own and thereby avoid manifestation events. Manifestation events are only necessary when you are living in a way that opposes what you want. They bring out the resistance that may not be so obvious. But if you can see your own limiting ways beforehand, and then work to analyze them to reduce their intensity, then a manifestation event becomes unnecessary. Do you see how this all works?
Okay, so this is something big and something new. That we go through life, we birth a desire, and the object of that desire does not exist in our reality because we're not a vibrational match to it. So we have to change our vibration so that it matches whatever this thing is that we want. Now, we don't personally do anything to change our vibration yet, right? However, the universe sets you up in these manifestation events, and that gives you the opportunity to reassess your beliefs, and then your vibration changes as a result of that. Well, what Joshua is saying here is that, okay, she's gotten to such a high level. Now she can possibly look into her own beliefs and start thinking about them beforehand. And if she's able to identify and analyze a limiting belief without a manifestation event, and then reduce the intensity of that belief by proving that it's false and showing evidence, in the contrary, then that does all the work of a manifestation event, and manifestation events become less necessary. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, he hasn't actually brought that up before.
No, that's new.
So that's
all right. Let's go on to the next one.
It's hard because I think they're hidden. A lot of these things are hidden. You don't even know they're there. You're swimming in it, right?
Okay, so here I have this idea that I can't be trusted, and I wouldn't have known that unless this manifestation event of my own came up.
It's a gift.
Right.
Okay. In time, you will notice when a manifestation event is about to appear, and you can resolve it before it even gets started. Once you feel the fear and analyze it, prove it's false and reduce its intensity, the manifestation event ceases. It can all be over before it even gets started.
Wow.
Another thing there, too. If you get good at this stuff, as soon as you feel negative emotion, you can stop and say, all right, what am I doing here? What's the fear? And then, like Rob did, just ease out of it the easiest way possible, and then it goes away. So that just shows you that manifestation events do not have to be painful. Contrast does not have to be painful. If you can realize the message and integrate it quickly, then the manifestation event is over, and the contrast is over quickly. See, the problem is that we are so wired to avoid negative emotion because we do not know how to deal with it. So we do all kinds of things to make other people happy so they don't get mad at us because we don't want this conflict or this, negative emotion to stir up. But by doing that, we're not being who we are. Yeah. So I'm really annoying Lily lately because when she tries to adjust my behavior, I said, I bring up the fact that, do you want me to be different than who I am? And she says, yes, please.
When I was in Italy, I was embarrassing Sienna right and left because I would just want to.
Well, that's your job as a parent.
Exactly.
Remember that.
I want to try to talk Italian to anybody who I come across. And she was like, Dad, you're saying the words all wrong. You're doing this all right. And I'm like, I don't care. I'm having a good time, right?
Nor do they care too. They were probably thrilled that you were trying.
They were,
right?
They were thrilled. It was all positive.
So. Right, but isn't it interesting?
But we have to draw a distinction here between being ourselves and not resisting, which is the example we gave earlier with the bushes. With your friend with the bushes on the property.
Yeah. Well, okay, so we are. When you're being yourself, you're not acting in a way that is trying to get someone to do something that will make you feel good. Okay, so for instance, let's just say that I leave socks on the floor.
You probably
for me to go around nervously cleaning them
never
up
do
every
that.
day.
You never do that.
I do.
Only be because I would want Lily not to get mad at me for leaving my socks on the floor. So what I'm doing by picking up the socks is trying to mitigate her feelings so that she doesn't come back at me. And maybe that's perfectly fine, but maybe I'm doing something differently, right? Now, I understand that you have to live in a certain way to keep a harmonious household. But if she's really worried about the socks on the floor, she could just pick them up rather than having to try and change who I am. And she could see the socks as a sign that, hey, she's living in a marriage with somebody. And if there weren't socks on the floor, that would be an indication that she's all alone. So wouldn't it be preferable to live this way?
Tell me how that works. Tell me how that works.
I can't really say that out loud to her. Hi, honey, if you're listening to the show.
Yeah, it's a recording now. Yeah. It's out there forever.
Hopefully we can edit that part out. Dangerous. She'll get mad at me. No. See, I don't have to worry about what I say anymore because I can be who I am, and I know that when I'm being who I am, I'm being a person of pure positive love, right? And so I'm just doing what I'm doing, but I can't be different than that. Just so hopefully you won't get upset because I'll never be able to maintain that. that's another topic, another subject. But it's a question that came from Kate this morning, and it was really a good answer. We'll maybe do that one next week. Okay, so where are we on this question here?
I can continue on.
Okay.
If you look back at some of the really big manifestation events in your life, you can see that the ones that lasted the longest and had the most emotional distress were the ones where you held onto your perspective and you did not seek to analyze your limiting beliefs and irrational fears. When you get good at this stuff, you move quickly through most events and you expand in the process. It will feel like a constant motion forward rather than a series of steps.
Right. So you look back at the big manifestation events in your life, and if you can remember them, you can see that you probably held on to them for a long time. For instance, a big one that's a really easy analogy is the first person whoever dumped you. So you're in this relationship, the other person dumps you, and you feel bad because you're looking at it from a perspective that you're not good enough, or you're going to miss this person, or why don't they love you, or all this stuff, right? Which doesn't align with who you really are or what you really want. And what you really want is this person who's eventually going to be in your life. That's what you want. And these relationships are just stepping stones to that person. So by looking at it from a perspective that you're never going to meet anyone else again is not serving you, nor is it even accurate, right? But that's how everyone feels the first time they get dumped.
Right.
Now you look back and you go, how silly was I to even care about that back then? That made no sense, So that's an easy one to look at. So the point is that all these things, all these manifestation events are stepping stones. Just like what Joshua said. All right, next one.
Right.
Do not get complacent. Do not fear new events. Keep looking forward and creating consciously. There's nothing to worry about. You're doing so well. Look for tests from the universe to see if you've actually changed. How you handle the next several manifestation events will determine where your vibration takes you. You are loved and supported more than you can imagine, and we love watching you surf on the wave of universal forces. Joshua.
So the last paragraph there is saying that you've shown that you've made a change in the way that you're handling these events. Now, in order to really change, you have to maintain this level of vibration. You can easily slip back. I guess you don't really slip back, but what I'm saying is you can easily go back to your old approach to life, and then things aren't really going to change because you haven't really integrated the new approach to life. But so these next few manifestation events are going to test you to see if you've actually integrated this change or if you're still operating from the old approach. That's what's tricky. So you have this one success that you feel really good about, and immediately there'll be other ones coming up just to see if you've really made the change. And how you react to these new ones determines where your vibration goes, and how your whole reality is a reflection of that vibration. And so where that vibration is determines your life, determines everything you get. So it's a big thing.
It is life-changing.
Life-changing, yeah. So I love that question and that answer. It made things so much clearer. There were a lot of aha moments in there. It's amazing how, all these questions that are done every day, there's something in every one of them.
Well, this one in particular had a lot of major league things going on in this person's in Kyla's life.
Yeah.
These weren't the minor, the small annoyances. These were major issues.
Right.
How are we going to get along? How are we going to parent our child or children? How are we going to split up assets? Who's going to pay for what?
Right.
These are the things that people go absolutely crazy about.
Because they're so important, or they feel so important.
Right. I mean, these are the things that lead to such fearfulness at such a core level.
Yep.
Yeah. Plus, on top of that, as I said before, these are the sorts of things that I've witnessed where people feel they have to win, or I can't let the other one win.
Right. And there is no win unless it's a win-win, because you are not only eternally tied to the person, but you're certainly tied to the person as long as the children are, minors.
Oh, no question about it.
Yeah.
And the courts and the attorneys and everybody, at least if they're doing their jobs properly, try to tell the people, look, you guys are stuck together. You're going to, no matter what, you can get a divorce, but if you have children, you've got things going on forever.
It seems, though, that a lot of the motivation for lawyers is to get the best deal because they get the better, reputation for winning and attract new clients as a result.
Well, that's part of it, and part of it also is the fact that that is at least that's our obligation. We're supposed to zealously represent our client,
right?
And that means sometimes taking hardline positions, even where in the scheme of things, that's not necessarily the best for everybody.
Yes.
So we do that, However, we as attorneys at least can try to step back and speak to our clients and say, hey, there are other considerations here.
Mm-hmm. Well, this is exciting to see.
Such as the well-being of your children.
Yeah.
You don't necessarily, winning against your ex-spouse, may not be the best thing in the world. You could take the higher position and the higher road here for the sake of your kids. And we have, I've had that discussion with clients. Doesn't necessarily go anywhere, but I've had that discussion with clients.
Well, they are lucky to have you being so aware of what you know beneath the surface of everything.
I'm starting my own consulting company right now, going through that. And I had kind of a revelation where I used to have the thought that I have to take all clients. Like, any client I need to pursue and I need to go after, and the realization was, I'm only going to work with people I want to work with.
Absolutely.
That is so important.
And
yes.
And it's totally opposite. It's a completely polar opposite, feeling, but I love it, and I think it might work out. Actually, I have a hunch it might work out.
That's the most important thing. When I was into marketing several years ago, I wrote a book called Core Marketing, and the basis of it was that you get into this business because it's something you like, that you love that aspect of reality that you're really interested in too. And so the clients that you attract are the ones who are also interested in what you specifically are bringing to this thing. And so you have core customers, and those core customers are going to be a fraction of the total customers or the total people that are exposed to your business. But they're going to be the ones that represent 80% of all the profits, of all the referrals, of all the good feelings, of all the good feedback you get. And they're going to be the easiest to work with and pay you the most. The other 80% that come through, and at the time we're, those are the ones that are just going to kick the tires and try and get the best deals and negotiate the best rates and complain the most and steal the most and that sort of thing. And so you've got to get really good at picking out who the core customers are. Who are these people who are really interested in that specific, unique thing that you offer? Lily's store is a super easy example. She's doing something completely unique, which is refurbishing old furniture, and there's a lot of people who like that. But in her store will come people who are just looking for any old couch or anything, and they'll try and they don't see what's really happening. They just see that it's a furniture store. They don't know the backstory of it. And so they just see stuff and they say, okay, well, there's a couch there. Let's see the best deal I can get. And can you deliver it? And can I take off sales tax? And can I do all this other stuff? And she's like, no, because it's going to be a hassle with you. But if a core customer comes in and goes, I just absolutely love this piece. It is the most unbelievable thing. I can't believe how great it is. I would just love to have this. Can you do any better on it? She'll say, absolutely. She'll make a deal. And then that person will bring in their friends and they'll buy more stuff and they'll bring in their furniture to have redone. And it's just a cool thing. But you look at, here's a really good example of that. She had a designer who is a super great guy, and he had this big client out in Wellington in a multi-million dollar house that had this gigantic custom-made sofa. Well, the cushions weren't, this is sort of a famous person too. The cushions weren't the proper firmness for her. And so she wanted to have them all redone. that couch cost like $150,000, if you can imagine. It was this
What?
big thing. Yeah, it's just crazy.
Holy
So
Toledo.
she's paying,
Boy, it must have been just right on her tushy,
and she's paying
or
now
she wanted
Lily
it to be.
like $800 per cushion to redo. Some amazing amount of money. Now, it's really expensive fabric. There's foam in there. It's all kinds of stuff, right? And there's a million cushions. So Lily takes the job. Now, that's not what she does. What she does is she creates custom, unique pieces out of quality furniture that is now past its prime, right? It's still great condition. It's just that the design and the style of it, the fabrics on it and the color of it is not contemporary. And she designs these new pieces. Well, she's not someone who reupholsters people stuff, Now that's really good money, but that's not her core thing. And this person's certainly not a core customer because this person never even come in the store. All this person wants is a couch that feels better. So she takes the job just because she can make money on it, and she has nothing but nightmares. And this woman almost threatens to sue her, and she does sue the designer for all the money. Yeah. So this is the example of someone who's not a core customer, who's not vibrating at the same level as you, and someone you can avoid easily.
And she probably picked up on that too. She probably knew that in advance.
She knew it in advance, but she
Probably
was worried that she should be making the money, and she was worried that she shouldn't give up the business.
Yeah,
right.
And people do that all the time, and they're just complete nightmares.
Some of my worst experiences and some of the people who have stiffed us the worst are people who I knew going into the relationship we should never have taken.
Right. If they don't value what you're doing as your unique offering, then you're going to have problems with them because they're not on the same level with you.
1 minute.
1 minute. I was just going to say that. All right, everyone. This has been a fantastic show. You guys are great. I'm so glad to have you here and talking with us about this important stuff. Thanks, everyone, for listening to the show. Please make sure that you get on our newsletter so you get the question of the week and the quote of the week every week so you can read along with us as we talk about this stuff. It's a lot of fun. And I only send out one email a week, so it's not a lot of stuff in your inbox. Also, you can read a lot of the questions from people all over the world for free at theteachingsofjoshua.com. Remember to buy both books. The Health, Wealth, and Love book should be out by the end of the month. That's almost done.
And these books are great books for gifts, by the way.
Yes. And Joshua is in the middle of writing the Joshua Diet. Did you hear that, Steve?
Yes, I did.
Oh, man, it's such a good book, too. Right now, it's about how your mental, how you create everything in reality from the inside out, including your body. So it's a lot of the rehashing of all the stuff we're going through, and then I think it's gonna go into specific things you can do.
Very cool.
Okay, so if anyone has a question, please go to teachingsofjoshua.com. Send in your questions. We may pick one for this. And otherwise, have a wonderful week. We will see you again next Saturday. Goodbye, everyone.
Happy Mother's Day.
Oh,
Happy
yes.
Mother's Day.
Mother's Day. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Teachings of Joshua Roundtable with Gary Temple Bodley. We will be back next week with another fun discussion. If you would like to ask Joshua a question or read more of Joshua's teachings, please visit us at theteachingsofjoshua.com. See you next week.